Hello, and welcome to the second quarter Sheriff's Roundup for 2014. I'm Sheriff Bill Brown. For this edition of the Roundup, we're coming to you from the Isla Vista Foot Patrol Sheriff's Substation, where we are all still heavy-hearted after enduring one of the worst tragedies Santa Barbara County has ever experienced. We lost 6 bright, vibrant UCSB students at the hands of a deranged killer. 22-year-old Elliot Roger, a Santa Barbara City College student from Woodland Hills, who was living in Isla Vista, fatally stabbed 3 people inside his apartment before going on a shooting rampage at 9:27 p.m. on May 23rd. The victims included his 2 roommates, 20-year-old Cheng Hong, 20-year-old Weihan Wang, and their friend, 19-year-old George Chen. Roger detailed his plans in a 137-page manifesto he emailed out and in a retribution YouTube video he posted online shortly before the mass murders. The Sheriff's Office did not receive the manifesto or the retribution video until about an hour after the horrific event was over. As outlined in his plan, after killing the 3 victims in his apartment, Roger went to the Alpha Phi sorority house with the intent to kill as many women as possible. Several members of this sorority reported hearing loud and aggressive knocking at the front door, which lasted for 1 to 2 minutes. Fortunately, no one opened the door, and shortly afterwards, witnesses reported seeing 3 young women who were standing outside in the vicinity shot by the suspect from across the street, killing sorority sisters Catherine Cooper, 22 years old, and 19-year-old Veronica Weiss.
I just thought it was like an airsoft gun or something. I was like, hey, like, what up? And I turned around and I started walking the other way. And then, like, he shot.
Next, Roger drove to a nearby deli where he shot and killed 20-year-old Christopher Michaels Martinez. Roger continued to drive around shooting people during the incident, which lasted a total of 8 minutes and involved multiple crime scenes. In addition to the victims who were killed, 13 others were wounded, 8 of them from gunshots, 4 of them from being struck by Roger's BMW, and 1 by unknown means. A total of 4 sheriff's deputies at 2 different locations exchanged gunfire with Roger, who was wounded in the hip during the second gun battle. This injury likely distracted Roger from his intended mission, caused him to take flight, crash his car, and ultimately kill himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head. 3 registered, loaded 9mm semi-automatic handguns were found in Roger's vehicle, along with more than 400 rounds of ammunition. There's no telling how many lives could have been lost that day if it were not for the resolute and courageous response by sheriff's deputies. The Sheriff's Office appreciates the many people who have expressed their gratitude to our deputies following the tragedy. We know there are so many people who are deeply impacted by what happened, and we will continue to do all we can to protect the Isla Vista community. Unfortunately, the mass murders were not the only tragic event that occurred in Isla Vista recently. On May 4th, the body of a UCSB student was found on the beach at the bottom of a cliff along Deltopia. 20-year-old Sierra Marquis Winkler, whose family had recently moved to Eureka, was the valedictorian of her high school class. The exact cause and manner of her death remains under investigation, but since the year 2010, 3 people have died from falling off the cliffs in Isla Vista, and at least 20 other people have been injured. In June, temporary 5-foot fencing went up at 6 parks along Deltopia, following an emergency permit issued by Santa Barbara County and paid for by the university. The Sheriff's Office is involved in discussions on the process to get permanent fencing installed. Also in Isla Vista, 26 people were taken to the hospital and at least 6 law enforcement officers injured at an annual spring break party known as Deltopia that turned into a major civil disturbance. As Isla Vista Foot Patrol Lieutenant Rob Plastino shows us, the event was attended by 15 to 20,000 people. It was not only dangerous, but it was disappointing.
During the day, there were a lot of citations issued, a lot of people acting out. Certainly a small percentage of the crowd. I mean, the crowd was large. It was probably anywhere between 15 to 20,000 people at its max, and it was very busy during the day. It was a hot day, it was a beautiful day. But there was a vibe in the air that, that you could just sense that there were people that were on edge. This seemed to be more of an angry crowd, and we saw a lot of outsiders that we normally don't see. A lot of Oakland, LA, San Jose, Fresno. In most cases probably enjoy themselves, but in other cases to cause problems. One of our deputies was injured pretty early on, and I got medics down there. But after that, it was very difficult to get access down there because of the crowds that were starting to swarm around the areas where we were set up. We were responding to a downed officer, someone that had been hit, that went down, called officer down out on the radio. Of course we're going to come to his aid. And in doing so, those responding officers and deputies ended up being hit, punched, kicked, pushed to the ground. And then from that point forward, it was a mob mentality that basically took over with bottles coming in and rocks, and it just skyrocketed from there. You have high ground, you've got second-story balconies that are, where people are throwing things down on top of you. Bottles, rocks, tools, paver stones that were being launched at us using water balloon launchers. You had large crowds, you had winds that were, in essence, basically working against us. So when we tried to use gas, it was blowing right back in our faces. So these are technical things that we look at, that we can design better training to make sure that our deputies and the other law enforcement officers that are out here next time are prepared for. You're used to seeing Isla Vista in a certain way, and seeing it erupt in such a violent manner, was a little disconcerting, but you're there to do a job, and I was, focused on what I was doing and focused on the safety of the personnel that were around me. I'm really proud of our deputies and the officers that were out there. If anything, I think we showed incredible restraint. You have to realize that, when you get a mob like that or a riot that happens, it's still a small chunk of the population. I mean, it really is a small segment of, of the wrongdoers, as opposed to a great majority of those that are just out to have a good time and really don't want to cause any problems. So if you can get that majority motivated to doing positive things in the community, they can overwhelm that negative element. And I think that's what we have to do, and make Isla Vista a beautiful, wonderful place to live and work.
Thank you, Lieutenant Plastino, and all of our hardworking and dedicated Isla Vista Foot Patrol deputies. In all, 17 people were arrested during the disturbance, and 130 people were arrested throughout the course of the day and evening. 190 people were cited, and there were 50 medical transports. A total of 520 law enforcement calls for service were handled. Following this violent event, the Sheriff's Office launched a comprehensive investigation into identifying and locating other persons responsible for criminal activity that day. Solvang residents experienced a frightening evening on April 16th, when much of the downtown was evacuated due to a potentially explosive piece of military ordnance that was found in the heart of the business district near residences. The Sheriff's Bomb Squad and Vandenberg Air Force Base's Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team responded and determined the device was an old artillery shell measuring 18 inches long, with the fusing system still intact. The device was considered potentially unstable and capable of causing widespread damage if it exploded. It took Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team members several hours to safely evacuate between 500 and 700 homes and businesses in the area before the device could be removed and rendered safe. Even though it may sometimes seem that a criminal got away with a crime, we have two recent examples of suspects who were arrested more than a year later. On April 3rd, the Sheriff's Special Enforcement Team surrounded a home where 35-year-old Travis Rosenblatt was residing near Las Positas Road. It took several hours of negotiation and the use of distraction devices to finally get Rosenblatt to come out of the house and surrender. Rosenblatt was suspected in the February 2013 robbery of a mobile gas station located nearby. He was also convicted of robbing a bank in the city of Santa Barbara in 2006. New DNA evidence linked Rosenblatt to the gas station robbery. In the other case, a suspect wanted for a stabbing at a motel in Carpinteria 1 year ago was arrested following a traffic stop. A sheriff's deputy noticed a car driving unsafely and pulled the vehicle over. The driver turned out to be 30-year-old Robert Lee Billy, who was wanted for stabbing a 44-year-old acquaintance outside a hotel room following a disagreement and fight. One type of crime that we continue to see on the Central Coast is maritime smuggling by ponga boat. In May, the Sheriff's Office joined Congresswoman Lois Capps and other federal and state law enforcement agencies at a press conference to discuss the importance of obtaining federal funds for enforcement efforts to combat ponga boat activities. Santa Barbara County received $375,000 in federal funding last year. There have been 42 known ponga boat landings in Santa Barbara County since 2010. A crime you don't hear about often, but which is on the rise, is avocado theft. Recently, the Sheriff's Office took a report in Carpinteria where $12,000 worth of avocados were stolen. In this edition of Focus on Safety, Deputy John McCarthy tells us how to help stop those crimes from occurring.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a theft of avocado case in Carpinteria. Suspects came in. We don't know who they were, and they cleaned out the orchard to about $12,000 worth of fruit that was stolen. The main thing is we just want to prevent it from happening to anybody else, so we're just being proactive in doing this. There are several steps that they and other people can do to protect their crops. If the fruit is hanging over a sidewalk or a walkway, the fruit is not for public consumption. They cannot just walk through and take the fruit off the trees. So any orchard owner, the best way that they can do to protect themselves would be to pick the fruit themselves or trim the trees and remove the temptation from any passerbys. Also, any trees on the border, take the fruit off of the trees. That way anybody driving by or walking by, they'll look at the orchard and go, well, there's no fruit here, let's just go somewhere else. And those are just probably some of the quickest, easiest ways that an orchard owner can protect their crops and their fruit.
It's frustrating, and that's one of the things we try to be proactive and diligent about any vehicles that we see. We go up to them and get their license number or see what they're doing, or we take a picture of them and we try to keep that log, because sometimes they'll come back more than once and they go, wait a minute, I saw that vehicle a few days ago, now it's back again.
Even if they steal 5 avocados off the tree as they're walking by for personal consumption, it's theft. You're taking money away from the grower. They're putting all that time and effort into growing the fruit for public consumption, but they're losing out on the revenue.
Congratulations to Deputy McCarthy for being awarded the H. Thomas Geary Award for Superior Performance for his work fighting rural crime. Deputy McCarthy was one of 8 Santa Barbara County Sheriff's deputies honored by the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime at the 45th Annual Thomas Geary Award ceremony. Lieutenant Butch Arnaldi, his son Giuseppe Arnaldi, Senior Deputy Doug Jones, Deputy Charles Anderson, Deputy Desiree Tomei, Deputy Dan Sandu, and Deputy Jerome Kemp all received Superior Performance Awards for their courageous efforts in evacuating residents during the White Fire, which broke out on Memorial Day 2013 at the White Rock Day Use area on Paradise Road. Congratulations to all of the Geary Award recipients. The Sheriff's Office welcomed 4 new deputies to the team at a traditional ceremony in Santa Maria, honoring 28 law enforcement cadets who graduated from the Allen Hancock College Law Enforcement Academy. Deputies Rockwell Ellis, Hartley Friedman, Ryan Kirk, and Jeffrey Owen received their graduation certificates before a packed crowd of family and friends. In order to make it to graduation day, the recruits endured more than 800 hours of training. This is the first class to attend and graduate from the new state-of-the-art Allen Hancock Law Enforcement Training Facility in Lompoc. Deputy Owen was chosen as the class valedictorian. Congratulations.
Class 106, we made it through, but the hard part is just starting. Don't forget how hard you worked to get here, and don't let anything compromise your morals. Never stop learning and never stop trying to be the best.
Recently retired Director of Law Enforcement Training, Greg Dossie, spoke at the ceremony and received a round of applause for his years of service at the Academy.
So I'd like to say a special thank you to Class 106. You've made my last class the best class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg, for all you've done to shape the character and careers of so many law enforcement officers. Your legacy will live on. The Sheriff's Office also recently hired 3 new custody deputies. On May 5th, custody deputies Eduardo Cazares, Oscar Meraz, and Kevin Smith were sworn in and received their badges. We welcome these new custody employees and wish them a great career. Approximately 300 people who aspired to become custody deputies attended a physical agility test at the new Allen Hancock Law Enforcement Academy. As Lieutenant Eric Rainey tells us, just getting to this point was a major accomplishment.
We've got about 300 total applicants for our current custody deputy recruitment out testing for the physical agility test today. That number is probably on our high side for our most recent custody deputy recruitments. We started with just under 700 applicants, which really is, for the last couple of years, a record for us. The physical agility test for custody deputy consists of 3 components. The first 2 are a combined component, and that's a 100-yard dash and a 50-yard dummy drag. So they need to pull the dummy 50 yards immediately after doing a 100-yard dash in under 19 seconds. After that, they'll regroup, and then they'll do a 500-yard run, and they have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to complete that 500. It's a difficult task. I think having the adrenaline as well as the physical component really piles on how difficult it is. And then just to have the stress of completing that process, knowing that this is your dream job and that this is just one step in many that you have to complete, that stress in and of itself is enough to have some failures out here. We also take the time with each group that goes through to really talk to them about what it means to be a deputy for the Sheriff's Department. We really encourage them that this is a team environment. So you hear this cheering out there, and that's a product of us letting them know that from here on out, you're joining a team and you need to help each other along. There's no solo artists out here. This is all team effort. So they're all out here encouraging each other, and that really carries through for the rest of the process up until they're hired and go into our custody deputy academy and all the way through their careers.
If you are a rabbit, go. Just go, get lost, run it to your heart's content, finish in a minute 20, bless you, and get ready for the written test. If you're not a rabbit, a little more of a moose, like me, set a pace, keep a pace, have a finishing kick.
It's really a treat to see Dan Duffy out here doing what he does so well. Dan has this ability to get in front of this group, put on enough stress that they take it seriously and that they're motivated, but then give them enough element of humor and levity so that they're feeling comfortable and they're feeling like they're part of a team and that we want them to join our team.
Thank you, Lieutenant Rainey, and everyone in our Human Resources Department for the excellent work you do to find quality people to fill these important roles in our community. The Sheriff's Office is looking for more people who are interested in becoming custody deputies. If you're interested in protecting and serving your community in this way, please go to our website at www.sbsheriff.org. One of our custody deputies is facing a difficult health challenge and could use your help. Custody Deputy Trevor Carpenter, a 10-year veteran of the agency and father of 4, has leukemia, and he's in need of a bone marrow transplant. The Sheriff's Office recently held a bone marrow registry drive at Sheriff's headquarters to help Custody Deputy Carpenter find a match. It only took participants a few minutes of their time to fill out an application and have a quick mouth swab taken.
If your immediate family is not a match, they move to preparing for an unrelated donor, and that's where the national and international registry of potential bone marrow donors comes into play. The word has gotten out, and people are willing to step up, and that's just great. I mean, it's whether they end up donating for me or for some other person, that's really fantastic for the community.
You can still help Custody Deputy Carpenter and the thousands of other patients who suffer from insidious diseases like leukemia by participating in the Bone Marrow Drive online. Just go to join.bethematch.org and enter Hope for Trevor as the promotion code. The Sheriff's Office is losing a key member of the agency after 8 years of service. But as Canine Handler Deputy Mike McNeil tells us, in dog years, that's quite a career.
I've been in the unit since September of 2005, is when I got partnered up with my first partner, Betty. She came to us from Germany, about 16 months old. Got off the plane, next day she was training for a police dog. Been with Betty for about 7.5, 8 years. We retired her last July.
Very excited to be able to thank Betty for her service. And Mr. Allen, if you could read the resolution, please.
Chairman Mavino, members of the board, this is a resolution of commendation for Sheriff's Canine Betty Blue Van House-Beja. Betty, throughout her years of service, was responsible for over 30 physical apprehensions, including violent felons, burglars, arsonists, child molesters, and narcotic violators.
She's just been an excellent dog. That was probably one of our best. It was our first female German Shepherd we've ever had in the department. Wonderful asset, located several suspects, done several finds, and just several items of narcotics as well.
Are you sure?
In July of 2013, I took over a new dog. I had the opportunity to work another dog, and it was Canine Magnum. Magnum was born and raised in Ventura. Magnum is fully certified. We are both post-certified in patrol operations and narcotics detection, so we are out on the streets. He's been with me up in North County ever since July of last year, and we're doing well. We've already located 2 or 3 suspects during pursuits, and he's found a couple items of narcotics during our patrol stops. These are all stops that we've done as working as a team together. Everything that we do is a team concept with the dogs. It's just like having a human partner. However, it's a 4-legged partner. I didn't always give a command. Some of it was body language. Some of it was hand signals. They know what I'm expecting. Some of it's calling them by their name. It's a bonding time that takes a while. And it took us probably about 6 months before Magnum really started going, oh, hey, this isn't so bad. I don't mind being a police dog. This is kind of cool. You drive me around, you take me to places, we go out and do stuff. Every time you take me out of the car, something's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen, but something good's gonna happen. So the bond is very unique, and it's very, very, very impressive to watch these dogs wanna work, to wanna, after doing 12 hours in a car, go home for 20 minutes and come back and do another 4 hours to go looking for somebody. I just can't believe they want to do that. And they're doing it for dog food and love. After our original hours for post-certification and narcotics certification, we still go to weekly maintenance training. And the biggest reason why is if you look at our dogs, look at the control that we have over our dogs and what we're asking them to do. If our dogs weren't in control, and all of a sudden we went out and told the dog to go, hey, don't go bite the person, the dog bites the person by accident, you know, there's an issue there, where at least if we know and we see our dog doing something, we can call our dog back or tell our dog to lay down. That's not what we want them to do. We want that control on these dogs. Betty, in our dog world, we like to call a strong dog, a really good strong dog. And so I had to be constantly on her like a 2-year-old, like a toddler. I always had to tell her what to do and when to do it.
Here! Just so you guys know, the old retired dog has done the best.
Magnum, he's a young pup that I applied the same pressure in the very beginning that I would with Betty. And I was afraid that he would shut down. I mean, the trainers would tell me, hey, this isn't Betty. You don't have to be as strict as you were with Betty. We want him to learn. We want him to make some mistakes so he understands it.
Thanks to Deputy McNeil for his work with Betty and for training his new dog Magnum to become a new and important member of our team. The Sheriff's Office teamed up with the Santa Barbara Police Department for the first ever Coffee with a Cop event in Montecito. Because Montecito is patrolled by the Santa Barbara Police Department on Coast Village Road and in the surrounding areas by the Sheriff's Office, it was only fitting that representatives from both agencies were there to meet and speak with residents.
It was really great. We had a lot of foot traffic, which is always, it's good for business for us, but more importantly, wanted a chance to connect with the community, you know, to recognize that we're all in this together. Montecito's, you know, it's our town, and we wanted to just kind of help out any way we could.
This area specifically is this borderline between the sheriffs and the police, and it's just been such a great area to have us connected so people can come in and talk to both of us at the same time. You know, we do the same job a little bit differently in a little different area, so it's really great to have us all together here.
Yeah, we have a really nice working relationship with Santa Barbara PD, especially at the line level. You know, we depend on them for help, they ask us for help, and we both respond, and it's like working with one of your normal beat partners. You know, they're professional, they're very, you know, nice to work with, and it's definitely an enjoyable opportunity to do something like this with them.
Another Coffee with a Cop event was also held in Isla Vista. To find out when the Sheriff's Office holds these gatherings, sign up on our website to receive Nixle alerts or follow us on Twitter or Facebook. The Sheriff's Office congratulates our recent Drug Abuse Resistance Education, or DARE graduates, for completing the 10-week program that teaches students how to stay away from drugs, violence, and gangs, and how to make good choices in life.
DARE is a program to help you not to only resist drugs and violence, but to help you through your daily life at school and with friends. And if you're dealing with bad situations, how to get out of them and how to make the right choices.
About 1,200 Santa Barbara County students participate in the DARE program each year. Congrats also go out to our hardworking explorers who competed against 33 teams across the state in the Central Valley Law Enforcement Academy competition in Tulare County. The 23 young men and women who represented our agency took home first place trophies in the crisis negotiation and written examination categories. Well done, explorers. We are proud of you.
Welcome to Chili's for the Tip-A-Cop.
The final Tip-A-Cop events of the season were held at several restaurants in the Goleta area recently. Thank you to Outback Restaurant, Petrini's, and Chili's for hosting these events once again, and to all of the volunteer waiters and waitresses who served. The Tip-A-Cop events raised more than $20,000 this year for the Santa Barbara County Special Olympics chapter. The Law Enforcement Torch Run also raised money for Special Olympics and was a huge success this year. More than 120 volunteer runners participated, including our Dean the Machine Miller, who ran 13 miles, and School Resource Deputy Dan Nelson, who ran several miles in both North County and South County. Thanks are due to Lieutenant Butch Arnaldi for coordinating our Special Olympics fundraisers and for his 30 years of service and dedication to this important cause. Well done, Butch. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Roundup. I want to close by saying that I look forward to being your sheriff for another 4 years. Thank you for trusting me with this honor by re-electing me to this office, and thanks for continuing to support the Sheriff's Office as we protect your safety.